All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Look, if you're tuning in, I definitely don't need to tell you that AI is everywhere right now. But what you might not fully realize is the massive under-the-hood architectural shift that's driving this whole explosion of capabilities. I mean, the transition from narrow single-task systems into the era of natively multimodal foundation models, it happened with staggering speed. Literally, we went from algorithms that could barely identify a cat in a photo to systems that can write complex software and reason through quantum physics in what, roughly half a decade? So this isn't just some standard software upgrade. It's a fundamental reimagining of how machines process reality. And honestly, understanding this technical transition is absolutely crucial for anyone building in the enterprise space today.
So let me ask you something. Are you still treating AI like it's just a text box you type questions into? Because if you are, you're missing out on a huge technological leap that's fundamentally changing how businesses operate. The Chatbot UI, that's literally just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the waterline is this colossal infrastructure. We're talking a complex web of distributed compute, massive data ingestion pipelines, and trillions of parameter weights capable of deep reasoning and logic generation. What we're really talking about here is an entirely new engine for enterprise innovation. Relying only on a basic chat interface is kind of like using a multi-million-dollar supercomputer exclusively to play solitaire.
Think about this number for a second, 122. According to a recent survey over in the UK, workers using generative AI tools are saving 122 hours per year. That is over 3 entire work weeks just handed back to a single employee. No way, right? But imagine what a senior engineer, a product manager, or a creative director can actually do with 3 extra weeks of uninterrupted time. They're not spending it writing boilerplate emails or manually summarizing endless PDFs. No, they're redirecting that energy into deep strategic planning, product innovation, and actual skill building. Organizations simply have to evolve their technical architecture to capture this kind of leverage, or they seriously risk falling behind the market. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The paradigm shift. 2. Inside foundation models. 3. Gemini architecture. 4. Vertex AI engine room. And 5. Application and strategy.
Section 1. The paradigm shift. To really grasp why today's AI is so incredibly powerful, we've got to look at how the training methodology itself has evolved. See, traditional machine learning is kind of like a highly specialized assembly line worker. It was trained using supervised learning. That meant human beings had to painstakingly label specific data sets for one single purpose. Think of an algorithm designed purely to filter spam. It needed thousands of emails manually tagged as spam or not spam, just to learn the ropes. And sure, it did that one job perfectly, but if you ask that spam filter to say translate French, total failure. Foundation models, on the other hand, well, they're polymaths. They use self-supervised learning, meaning they ingest vast amounts of unstructured internet-scale data without humans needing to label every single piece. By learning the fundamental patterns of language, code, and logic during this massive pre-training phase, a single foundation model becomes highly adaptable to an almost endless array of downstream tasks.
Section 2. Inside foundation models. Now here is the real secret sauce: multimodality. Early foundation models were strictly text in, text out. If developers wanted them to see an image, they literally had to bolt a separate vision model onto the text model. It was essentially a Frankenstein's monster of APIs, super clunky, slow, and totally prone to losing crucial context in the translation. But natively multimodal AI, that changes the whole game. It means the neural network is built from the ground up to process multiple formats in the exact same vector space. These systems don't just read text anymore. They see, they hear, and they understand inputs across text, images, videos, audio, and code, all at the exact same time. And because this integration happens natively inside the model's core architecture, the reasoning across these different data types is vastly more nuanced and accurate.
Section 3. Gemini architecture. Look, any good engineer knows you don't use a sledgehammer to push in a thumbtack, right? And you definitely shouldn't use your heaviest, most expensive foundation model for a simple data extraction task. The Gemini 3.0 family is tiered to give you precise control over your architecture. Up at the top, you've got Gemini 3 Pro. That's built for the heavy lifting, complex reasoning, multi-step math problems, deep think modes, generating massive blocks of code. But say you're building an interactive customer agent where latency is absolutely critical. In that case, you shift down to Gemini 3 Flash. It keeps that high intelligence but is heavily optimized for speed and cost efficiency. And for massive scale, like if you're analyzing millions of log files per hour and balancing API throughput with compute cost is your number one priority, you deploy Gemini 3.1 Flash Lite. Choosing the right tier is basically the secret to building AI applications that are powerful and financially viable.
Section 4. Vertex AI Engine Room. So, having a brilliant foundation model is awesome, but how do you actually deploy it safely inside an enterprise? You definitely can't just take your company's proprietary financial data and copy-paste it into some public consumer web app. That's where Vertex AI comes in. It serves as your secure enterprise command center. It's a unified machine learning platform where developers can tap into tools like Model Garden to pick their foundation models. But, and this is absolutely crucial, they deploy them within their organization's own secure cloud tenant. Your data stays your data. It provides all the strict data residency, governance, and compliance frameworks that large organizations need to finally move AI out of the sandbox and into real production environments.
If you've ever tried building your own RAG system, retrieval augmented generation, from scratch, you know it is basically a rite of passage for AI developers. And by rite of passage, I mean an absolute hair-pulling nightmare. First, you gotta write custom logic to parse incredibly messy PDFs. Then you have to figure out how to chunk the data, because if you arbitrarily slice a sentence in half, the AI completely loses the semantic meaning. Actually, scratch that. It's even harder, because then you have to convert those chunks into multi-dimensional number arrays called embeddings and manage a wildly complex vector database just to make it searchable. Well, Vertex AI Search totally eliminates that headache. It gives you a full-fledged search engine straight out of the box. It seamlessly handles structural parsing, intelligently chunks the text right at natural semantic boundaries, runs the embedding models, and executes the retrieval search. It completely bridges the gap between your massive internal data silos and the foundation model's brain without any of that painful custom backend engineering.
Section 5. Application and Strategy.
All right, let's tie this all together and see how native multimodality and an enterprise search engine combine to create some truly magical user experiences. Imagine an automotive company building a next-gen virtual assistant. Using Vertex AI Search, they ingest a massive, completely diverse knowledge base, dense 400-page owner's manuals, thousands of text FAQs, and even instructional YouTube videos. Now picture a customer stuck on the side of the road with some weird warning light flashing on their dashboard. Because the foundation model is natively multimodal, the customer doesn't have to try and type out a description of this weirdly shaped blinking red icon. Nope, they simply point their phone camera right at the dashboard. The live camera feed literally is the prompt. The AI instantly processes the visual, cross-references it with the retrieved owner's manual data and video tutorials, and speaks back dynamic, step-by-step troubleshooting instructions. Pretty amazing, right? And hey, this architectural flexibility extends directly into creative production pipelines too. Major brands like Puma, for example, are fundamentally shifting how they handle product photography by using different foundation models for different stages of their creative process. If an art director is just rapidly brainstorming concepts and needs to iterate on, say, 100 different background ideas in a few minutes, they'll deploy a model like Nano Banana, which you might also know as Gemini 2.5 Flash Image. It takes a utility-first approach. It's totally optimized for high speed, rapid object editing, and strict character consistency. Then, once the winning concept is locked in, they switch over to a heavier model like Imagen 4, which operates on a quality-first philosophy. It uses way more compute power to render a stunning, photorealistic final asset that is ready for a massive global billboard campaign. Okay, zooming out a bit, as we look at all of these technical capabilities, it brings us to a vital strategic distinction. Ultimately, deploying foundation models is not simply about replacing human labor. No, it is a delicate balancing act between automation and augmentation. Automation uses AI for repetitive, highly rule-based tasks. Think formatting raw data, cleaning up messy spreadsheets, or basic boilerplate code generation. Augmentation, on the flip side, uses AI to actively enhance human critical thinking, complex problem-solving, and creativity. The strategy here is crystal clear. You automate the repetitive, soul-crushing busy work so that you can augment human strategy, relationship building, and long-term vision. Humans absolutely must remain securely in the loop for prompt refinement, output evaluation, and directing the overall architectural strategy. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on for your own enterprise architecture. As you integrate these incredibly powerful multimodal models into your daily operations, ask yourself, are you merely automating tasks, or are you actually augmenting your strategy? How are you going to use this technological shift to move your focus away from simple task execution and toward true strategic innovation?
Thanks so much for exploring the architecture and impact of foundation models with me today.